Raptors have won 14 straight games in a row and are second place out east. But what are the chances of them going back-to-back to the finals at least? We'll discuss that shortly. But first, he's trash. It's a refrain we've been guilty of uttering about a player more than once, right? All of us. I'm not innocent either. Of course, we aren't talking about in comparison to normal people like me or Arnovitz or your boy Sal, who's probably chilling on his couch watching this right now as he's going to town on some really cheesy nachos. No, the worst player on the worst NBA team is better at basketball than 99.9% of anyone you know. So right now I'm obviously talking in relation to their peer group of other world-class basketball players. A guy doesn't play or plays infrequently, and when he does play, it's not any good, so we rush to surmise, oh, he must be bad. He's trash. It can happen to a young player who's struggling to find his way in a dysfunctional situation, or an old player who doesn't quite fit with his team's new direction, or even a player in his prime making max salary. But if this league has taught us anything, it's that one man's trash is another man's treasure. See, outside of the very best players, your LeBrons, your Durants, your Giannis's, most players are incredibly reliant on being in the right situation, a system that prioritizes their strengths, an organization that has patience to wait on development, or a coach who envisions using the player in a way he's never been used before. It's kind of like when Doc Brown came back from 2015 and threw a half-empty beer can into the DeLorean's Mr. Fusion. McFly family trash was fuel for the time machine. You see it at the trade deadline in the Warriors' excitement over acquiring the chronically underachieving Andrew Wiggins, where they hope their free-flowing offense and high IQ environment can unlock his many talents. But really, the time for this kind of optimism for second chances comes in the next 10 days, as players hit the buyout market and hope to get picked up before the March 1st deadline. We've already seen the Charlotte Hornets jettison two vets in Marvin Williams and Michael Kidd-Gilchrist, both of whom reportedly already found new homes in Milwaukee and Dallas respectively. The freshly traded Dion Waiters promptly was bought out in Memphis and has now been linked to perhaps join the Lakers. Reggie Jackson is reportedly weighing a buyout in Detroit and might join the Clippers. Mo Harkless, John Henson, Wayne Ellington, Tyler Johnson, these are all players who either have already or might join the ranks of buyouts who'll be looking to join contenders after falling out of favor in their current situation. And they'll be in high demand, because what's not ideal in Detroit or New York or Phoenix may be just what the doctor ordered in LA or Milwaukee. So I have a proposal. Let's stop calling players who don't perform trash or garbage. Since they might resurface elsewhere as productive members of winning teams, let's call them recyclables, right? So, Paul, now that Darren Collison reportedly is going to stay retired, which recyclable player out there left on the market? Oh, renewable. There you go. Hey, that's a good one. Which one would best fit the Lakers?
I'm not sure if there's a good fit out there for them. I mean, what do we say the Lakers need? They probably need more playmaking just to take pressure off LeBron. Now, Dion Waiters is out there, but how much of a playmaker is he? He's more of a scoring guard, similar in the ways he shoots, he drives, but no, not so much a playmaker. So I'm not sure there's a guy out there that can help the Lakers, truthfully.
You got a name?
Tyler Johnson, maybe. I mean, I'm kind of with Paul in the sense that it's ball handling 12 minutes a night. I mean, that's what we need. I mean, I guess I could go with Tyler Johnson. I mean, Reggie, it sounds like he might be leaning Clippers, but obviously that's another one. Again, a guy, though, who is kind of a scoring one more than a playmaking one.
So let me give you guys a couple of names of players who were not on rosters this year, but could be in this category. Jamal Crawford.
Love Jamal, but, he hasn't played an NBA game in quite some time. And also, shooter or playmaker?
True that. But this is what we're talking about. Is this going to be a player that's going to get them through the regular season? Because we all know, because once the playoffs start, that rotation gets cut down. So as a guy that's being thrown as trash to another man's treasure, is he going to be able to make that rotation?
What about?
That's what's important.
Go ahead.
No, go ahead. I don't want to throw water on this, but I do feel like there's 2 weeks every February we get really into buyout markets and combinations, and somehow this guy is going to have an enormous effect on winning in May and June. When, by and large, Paul's right. We're talking about plugging a little hole.
Well, this is what I'm going to say before I drop another name for you guys. The Lakers, I was there Saturday in Golden State, and they had a big lead, and LeBron sat and was getting iced up and everything because game over. And the Warriors, the worst team in the league, make a comeback. LeBron's got to unwrap and go back out there and play. So we poo-poo in regular season, but they need someone right now who can keep the ship afloat when LeBron sits. So here's another name, J.R. Smith. He's been working out. My guy Perk said he saw him work out, looked great. With J.R. Smith, Paul, is that a name?
I mean, like I said, it's another name. You've been sitting all year. I'm not so sure about guys that's been suited. Yeah, maybe JR can come in and make some shots, but we're talking about taking some ball handling duties away from LeBron. They have Rondo, and Rondo's a little older now, and I expect Rondo to be a lot better once playoffs start. But if you're just talking about a guy to get through the regular season, yeah, you could say JR. Yeah, you could say Dion Waiters. Yeah, if Reggie Jackson gets balled out, you could use him. But as far as making an impact in the playoffs, I'm not so sure.
Do you think they're even looking for a piece?
I mean, I think they got to be looking for a
right.
ball
They got to
handler,
kick
right.
The tires.
I mean, just I mean, they are holding. First of all, they might be clinging on to the 1 seed in a couple of weeks, just because the Clippers are really good and Denver and Utah are really good. But I do think that I mean, they don't have a lot of pure ball handling, and to the extent that even you want LeBron always handling the ball. See, he's already doing more of that than I probably want him to do.
One last name for you. He's playing, but not in the NBA right now. Mm-hmm. He's played for Frank Vogel, and he's played with LeBron James. Lance Stevenson.
Like I said, I mean, these guys is all in the same boat.
It's not, store-brand. Like, you got to sometimes
now you're dealing with chemistry
stuff.
issues. It's just so much you got to deal with at this point in the season with like 30 games left that, I wouldn't mess with my team. They're in first place.
This is what I call the if I have to ask rule.
Oh, okay. Man. Y'all are tough, man. Okay. You guys don't like to recycle reuse. Let's turn our attention to the defending champs. The Raptors have won a franchise record 14 straight games in a row. They're sitting in second place with a record of 39-14. Kevin, how realistic are Toronto's chances of, let's say, going back to the finals? I won't say back-to-back repeating his chances, but just making it to the finals.
I mean, look, they have a buzzsaw in front of them in Milwaukee, but they lead the league in buy-in. I mean, I don't know if there's a team or a roster that is more committed to this is what we are, this is what we do. They are the most versatile, interesting defensive team we have seen since Paul's 08 or 07, 08 Celtics in terms of what they do, how frequently they will change tact. And you and I were talking about it before the show. I mean, this is a team that will run zone, run man, run matchup zone, a boxing one. They treat every, and you said this, I mean, they treat every game, regular season game, like a playoff game. We need to respond to the specific needs of each team.
Each game. So saying that, I want to put this in perspective for fans who may not know. Paul, typically when you're on a regular team, the defensive coverages for the regular season, do they change a lot, or are they basically the same and maybe you tweak here and there?
Well, you got your defensive system.
Right.
And usually the top defensive teams, they stick with it, throughout the course of a season. And they're going to win with it or lose with it. You're going to be hard-headed with your defense, especially when you're a top-tier defense. Now,
but then when you get to the playoffs,
I mean, the thing is, you keep the system. This is what worked all year. If you're a top-notch defense, you're going to live and die by that, regardless. It's not, you don't panic when the playoff comes. If something's not working, you know what the coach is going to say? Do it better, do it harder, period.
Now, they still have consistent coverage calls. It's not so much.
Yeah, we're not.
I mean, they still have a system, but it's just they are willing to kind of do ad hoc defense as the game or the opposition or opponent demands it. And I just think it's really interesting. What's also interesting is when you look at the size of their backcourt, it's really small.
Yeah.
And yet it kind of works. They are the number 2 defense in the league. Here's the problem. Ahead of them by 3.5 points, ahead of everybody, the Milwaukee Bucks.
Right. But to me, that's the great contrast. Milwaukee's a team that's hard-headed. We defended this way every single time, even in the playoffs, even though that's how they got beat last year because they gave up so many threes, basically uncovered because they're so aggressive at the point of attack. Toronto, on the other hand, is we adapt to every situation, every game, game by game, as you said, different coverages. And the most impressive thing to me is how many of these guys are not, would you be your first pick when I'm trying to build a great defensive team? In the sense that Terrence Davis, Chris Boucher, I'm not saying they're bad defensive players. I'm just saying they're not brand names, but they've got the IQ to make it happen, to be able to switch coverages from game to game based on a different game plan. I think that's pretty impressive.
Listen, you forget one ingredient. These are the defending champs.
Of course, yeah.
So this is not something that they're doing on the fly. They've been together. They understand how to make these changes.
I'm talking about the new guys, though. They got new guys.
How many new guys they got?
They don't have Kawhi, they don't have Danny Green, like Terrence Davis, Chris Boucher, like these guys
they chorus together. Siakam,
Rondae Hollis,
Van Vliet, Lowry, Gasol. Come on, these guys is all there. Come on, these guys, they got veterans in that locker room, and these guys is gonna fall in line. And so I'm buying that this team can get to the finals for the simple fact, when I look at Milwaukee, they got one superstar.
Right.
And so now you got other all-star players but they're inconsistent. And so you got Siakam. He can eventually cancel out Greek Freak on some nights and give you big nights. Maybe not every night, but some nights.
Big question, can they manufacture enough offense?
We'll see. Coming up, Bojan Bogdanovic hit a pretty absurd game winner against the Rockets last night. So we're going to run back the most absurd game winners of all time.
I call game.
But first, that was pretty absurd.
Come on.
Plus the guy was waiting for him, right?
That was nice, too, though. I got to give it up. That was nice, though, by Malik Monk. I like that. He got some hang time on that.
He sure did. All right, Miss Elevation. Lakers Warriors. Alan Smiley, as I like to call him, calls his own number and comes up woefully short on the dunk attempt. He did get to the line on this play, but Paul, what do you think was going to happen here?
No, if the defender was not there, he still wouldn't have dunked that. That's how much
that's the criteria.
The elevation was not there.
My favorite part is Steph on the bench laughing at him. I always
Maybe he was trying to give you one of these Tracy
Nah,
I don't know.
Are we not allowed to
know.
factor in ambition or hubris or anything like that?
Like, come on.
You got to know who you are. Know your role. Know your role.
What?
Know your personnel.
Come on now. He didn't have no elevation on this.
Make sweet spots. Staying in San Francisco, LeBron hit this dagger from the left wing. Very similar to his game winner in 2014 in Oracle. Kevin, do you think this was deliberate?
Absolutely. The side job, the LeBron side job is an underrated part of his portfolio.
That's muscle
We've seen it
memory
over the
right
years.
there.
We have. It's like whenever he's on the left wing.
Yeah,
That's
he's
muscle
just that
memory,
two-step.
man.
Look at that.
Look, he like, I've seen this shot before in this building.
Well, not
on
that
this
building.
floor. Well, on this floor.
Yeah. I feel like he did it in the finals too, but maybe it was up on
He
Cleveland.
did it a few times on me.
All right. Miss Joaquin Phoenix. Y'all gonna have to help me with this one. Celtics Thunder. Dennis Schroeder fouls Marcus Smart on this play, but Smart really embellished it. Kevin is Smart an early front runner for the 2021 Oscars.
Supporting, not lead, supporting.
I don't know, man. I feel like people paid the price of admission to see that.
That's actually lifetime achievement.
No, he got hit in the face right there.
right.
Come on, you didn't see that. You didn't see he got hit in the face. I saw, look, right here, swipe against the head. Look at that. Come on, man.
Wait, who was worse, him or the baby?
No.
Who was worse, him or the baby?
Come on,
Which one? Pick one.
Do my man Marcus Smart justice, man. Come on, he got hit right there.
Baby hasn't done anything in the league.
He's got a resume.
Look, man, he got swiped across the head. Come on, man. Close
The baby ran into the guy's leg.
That's a
Come on.
flagrant. That's really a flagrant on the Jazz
relax.
right
All right,
there.
relax.
What is that?
Make walk-offs. Bojan Bogdanovic nears the near impossible
Unreal.
buzzer beater
That
over
was
PJ
that.
Tucker and James Harden for the 1-point Jazz win.
That was
His
that.
second buzzer beater this season. Has the most buzzer beaters this season than any player in the league. Kevin, how big has he been for Utah this season?
It's been huge because this is a team that's had to manufacture just offense bit by bit, every possession, just a 3 yards and a cloud of dust, and he's a guy who can create offense.
Quietly averaging 20 points a night. So this is big
great
right
shooting.
there. They got two guys that they can go to down the stretch. Donovan Mitchell and that man right there.
And it's opened up the floor for Donovan too, and that's huge.
All right, time to run it back with the most absurd game winners in NBA history. We start with the honorable mention just because this set the game to overtime and didn't actually win it.
my God, I
Rex Chapman in
remember
1997 over the Sonics. That good.
I remember that. That was nice.
Yeah, man. I remember watching that. I was in college. I remember watching
Yep,
it
I was in college too.
He was sneaky athletic.
Who, Rex?
Yeah.
He wasn't sneaky. He was
He was
athletic,
pretty.
man. He was athletic. All right, now to the official list, which we'll show in reverse chronological order. First up, Jeremy Lamb in 2019. That was pretty
That was
good.
nice. That was nice.
Is that the only over the half line in this batch?
No. I think we got another one.
Gotta be.
We got another one.
For the win.
We got another one. Devin Harris in 2009.
that's right.
Fumble, bobble, pick it back up, throw it. I still don't know if it's legal.
That's for the win.
You gotta let it bounce, don't you? That was
Those are heartbreaks. You don't want to lose like this. Like, come on.
Did the defender get his hand on it?
last one. Derek Fisher, 2004.
Yeah.
I knew D. Fish was going to be in there.
Yeah, this was
Come
a
on
good
now.
one.
And that was a playoff win.
Yes, back when
He couldn't
74
even see
points
the
could
rim.
get you a playoff
for
win.
74
74 points in a four-quarter game.
And y'all want to say the game was better back then. Shut
Oh,
up.
the defense was better.
No, it wasn't. Milt Palacio,
Oh, this is my
2000.
man. Look, we got the steal and throw it, and we was down. We were down. I remember this.
Now, Paul, you grew up
Look,
with Milt,
all they
right?
had to do is get the ball in. We get the steal
Look at
and the
Steph.
shot.
Keep that horn.
Oh,
Are
man,
you
look at
in?
this. Look at this. We were down 2 points.
Wow.
Got the win.
That's your boy. You grew up with him, right?
That's my man, Mill Philosophy.
Idaho Vandal.
Sarah,
what's
Sarah's finest.
B. Scott, what's up with that suit?
I would say.
Jeff Malone is the last one, 1984.
It's over in Landover.
Yeah. That's like one of
These
the
are some
greatest
pretty
shots in
outrageous
NBA history.
game winners.
I mean, look, he's behind the basket. He's falling out of bounds. He just throws it up. He probably didn't even want to shoot the three.
There's no better feeling.
His coach wanted him to take a two.
No better feeling than a game-winning shot. I'm telling you, no better feeling.
You call what?
I call game.
There it is.
Come on now.
NBA replay system was a hot topic this weekend. Coaches have been adjusting to the challenge system, but we keep seeing late game scenarios involving a no call, which means no challenge can be made, and thus no replay can be played. Let's go back to Friday night. Rudy Gobert was credited with a block on Damian Lillard. Jazz win the game. The referees later admitted they missed the goaltend call, but the play was, quote, not reviewable because no call was made on the floor. Kevin, how can the NBA fix the replay system?
All right, a couple things, and this is a perfect example. What? We can review sins of commission, but we can't review sins of omission. Right, like, so if it's a binary call, if it's goaltending and you decide later it's not, you can't, basically you can do it, right? Like if you call goaltending, yet if it's reversed, you can't reverse a non-call. That is illogical.
Right.
It is a binary call, get it right. The thing I would do is I'm going to assign a fourth referee to the crew. I'm going to put him in a room with a monitor. He is wired into the other three referees. He is every bit as part of the crew, because this is what happens in this league. We're all at home. Everyone knows what the case is. Everybody knows what the correct call is, except the three guys huddled around a TV screen. And so you're going to have the technology utilized.
But they can't. So let me ask you this, Paul. Let's say they called a goaltend so that they could review it, and then it turned out it wasn't a goaltend. As a player, would you be upset? Like, oh, you broke our momentum because we had to stop?
Yeah, I think really it's slowing down the game. I mean, how many replays do we want to give a game? There's blown calls every night in the NBA. Now, just because we know, who knows if Portland would have won or lost the game, but this happens every night. And so I'm not mad, and I don't think there's a different system we have to put in. You just got to understand the referees aren't perfect, players aren't perfect. This happens every night. You know, does it change the outcome of a game? Sure, maybe not. But
so that's my solution.
I hate when I'm watching the game and I'm sitting there for 5 minutes, or even when I play, we sitting there waiting for the replays to come. If there's a change in the system, they have to do something to speed it up.
No, again, I'm by and large, I'm against replay.
Right.
But if you're gonna do it, adjudicate it correctly. If you're gonna do it, like here's the thing. Does anyone think for a second that if you told the founders of basketball 100 years ago, oh, by the way, there's this extra technology and you can actually watch things instantaneously that just happened, you want to utilize it? Yeah, but this idea that guys huddled around a screen. Yeah. They should change Jerry West to three guys huddled around the screen on the NBA logo. Like, it kills the flow of the game, but if you're going to do it, have the fourth referee be wired into the other three and just say, hey, Kenny, you missed it. Boom. That's 3 seconds.
That's my thing. And like, I'm not a fan of bash ref television.
Not at all. These guys have the hardest job. Yeah. And they're incredible at it. I went to Australia for a game a couple weeks ago. Yeah. Product's really good. You know, it was most
dynamic of a ball handler and a driver than Tony Allen was.
For instance, he can dribble.
You said it. Hey, Tony, he said it.
I love Tony. I love Tony.
But the point being is, this is what the Rockets were gambling on. They said, if we get rid of all the non-shooters and put the ball in Westbrook's hands, we're going to have an advantage on most nights. And so let's take a look at what Russ has been doing lately. In his last 14, he's been killing because the ball's been in his hands a lot more. He's been averaging just under 33 points and shooting far less threes than he was in the first 30 games of the season. Kevin, I can't believe I'm saying this, but are the Rockets becoming Westbrook's team?
I mean, here's the thing. I kind of reject the question. I challenge the premise. I mean, look, if you have to...
Lawyer Kevin.
The great team... No one ever asked, was it, hey, Paul, was it your team or KG's team or whatever? Like, a great team, the answer is all of the above. And if you have to ask, you're kind of in trouble. Now Paul is now actually... Paul is off camera during that, which was kind of classic. Yeah. But like, to me, if you have to ask, you got issues. I mean, that's kind of what's wrong. Like, if this team is going to do anything.
Let me rephrase it in a way that's not his team, our team. Are the Rockets a team that's moving forward going to be driven by Westbrook as the main engine and Harden as kind of the secondary?
I don't know, but I will tell you this. Westbrook is definitely imposing his will and his alpha attitude on this team right now.
That's another part of the conversation, which we know that James Harden in the past has been criticized as not being vocal enough as a locker room leader presence. And we know Westbrook has no problems doing that. Is he getting more comfortable now of saying, I was the new guy, but this is what's going to be?
Look, maybe that's a good way to ask the question that Paul did, which is, who is the emotional engine of this team? I think Russ, in that respect. I mean, he just has an electricity. He plays a little angry.
Right.
It's a team that needs a little jolt of anger right
now. He's more probably their inspirational leader. I mean, but we know what Harden's capable of on the court. I mean, he's still averaging 35 a night.
This is the way I looked at it when they made this deal. I said the only way, the original deal to bring Westbrook to Houston, the way this works is if the ball's in Westbrook's hands. Because if Westbrook's got the ball and Harden's off ball, at least we know Harden is a spacing threat and a shooting threat. The opposite is not true. If you've got Westbrook sitting in the corner and Harden driving, they're not as good.
I mean, the numbers are good, but at the end of the day, they got to win some ball games.
Yeah,
I mean,
they're doing it.
They do. And here's the thing. You know what's interesting about Westbrook? Yeah, he's taking fewer threes. You know where those shots are going? Between less than 5 feet.
You get to
the vast majority of his shots since January 1st have occurred within 5 feet of the basket.
Spread the court.
Huge. And you know what else I like about the ball being in Russ's hands? It's an offense that moves all of a sudden. It actually challenges a defense. Now decisions have to be made. It's not the switch fast, let's, 5 out and that's it. I mean, it actually pressures a defense, even though Harden's a far more efficient scorer, just one-on-one.
My favorite part about that full screen that we just showed, by the way, is 32.9 points. That's second in the league behind Lillard, who's averaging 78 points a game or something.
It's ridiculous.
All right, let's move on. All right, Joel Embiid hit a dagger 3 versus the Bulls last night and responded to the Philly crowd that booed him earlier in the game with what we're calling a shush, but it was a little bit more than a shush. Despite his statistics, he still felt his performance fell below his standards. Here's Embiid after the game. Take a listen.
I don't care how it looks. I'm just playing basketball and, just getting back to myself, just being a good apple, just playing basketball and just trying to dominate. Thank you.
That boy really told the crowd to shut the up. Paul, what's wrong with Embiid?
I think what's wrong with him is exactly what he said. He got to go back to being himself. And I said this early in the year. I don't see Embiid playing with the emotion. You know how he's used to doing this to the crowd, finger pointing and all this. He's on Twitter going out players. That's who he is. That's why he was dominant the last few years. And I don't see him doing that this year. But also, with expectations come pressure. And, the Philadelphia 76ers had expectations this year. A lot of people picked them to possibly be in the NBA Finals. Now you get to see how players perform with that kind of pressure.
Yeah, I think the problem with Joel Embiid is nothing you can extricate from the problem with the problem with the Philadelphia 76ers. And that is, how are we going to utilize space on an offensive possession? And to me, this is still the fundamental question they haven't answered. Al Horford is a 5 disguised as a 4. And by the way, you're not getting the best of Al if he's out on the perimeter. Ben Simmons is a guy who needs a ton of space on the floor in order to work off the dribble and be the attacker that he actually is. Unfortunately, you have a low post player and a high post player. It's just, to me, Embiid's problem is not individual.
Right.
He is an ingredient of a larger, and they still have time, by the way. The Sixers still have a little time, not as much as they used to. But they have some.
It's interesting because on the jump on Saturday with Rachel Nichols and Tracy and RJ, Draymond Green was a guest, and he talked about the Sixers struggling and underachieving this year.
You look at Philly, a couple of our guys just went there. That's a team who's supposed to be competing for a championship. And, their season hasn't been that great. Now, can they get better? Absolutely. They got so much talent, and I think it will. But, that's one of the teams that jumps out to me that should be having a lot better season. And, maybe they can pull it together. I hope they can.
So I want to have a conversation about pressure there. He talked about pressure. You guys talked about pressure. Paul, people think of you as you and KG and Ray Allen, and that was the best times of your career. Obviously, you won a championship. But there was a time before that when you were young Paul Pierce and you guys got to the conference finals. What was the difference the next year after that when the pressure was everyone knew you guys were a team to beat in the East?
Well, expectations. When you're flying under the radar, if you have a good game or a bad game, nobody really takes notice. But now it's like they expect you to perform each and every night, to be at the top of your game, or the team to be at the top of their game. And then when you don't meet those expectations, you could go into a funk. Now you have Instagram and Twitter. You can see people bashing you, talking about you in the paper, and players get down on that, and they can lose their confidence.
It's funny. I'm listening to those boos from Philadelphia, and you're like, what's going on here? The answer is For 5 years, they were playing with house money. And guess what? The house money is gone. Now you're just playing, and it's Philadelphia, and they're insane.
It's really quick. Is there any part of this that we give him for his hand injury, for his finger injury, that could be bothering him?
I mean, I think it's a combination maybe of injury, maybe of the system in Philadelphia being broken. Like he said, he's floating on the perimeter. We know Joel Embiid could be a dominant inside force, but I personally don't like the combination of him and Horford at the 4-5. Right. I believe that Tobias Harris at the 4 will be their best lineup for not only Embiid, but for Simmons also.
As well, absolutely. All right, coming up, the Bucks and Clippers both have really strong rosters, but who has the better team? We'll discuss.
That I like a lot. You imagine trying to deal with him and Patrick Beverley? Nah, that's not something you want to go do with. I think that Morris, with the 3-point shot that he has, I mean, I think he makes this team a lot better, Paul.
Clippers all day.
Wow.
I mean, I'm looking at their second best player, third best player, fourth best player, and I'm lining them up with Milwaukee. It's not even close.
Right.
I'm still inclined to go with Milwaukee. I mean, this is a team that blows everybody out every single night, is top defensively by 3.5 points over the rest of the league. Here's the thing with the Clippers. Tell me who their closing 5 is. By the way, I don't think it's a problem that we don't know yet, but it is still an unknown. And I think that's the question. I mean, by the way, is Pat on the bench? Because if you got Lou and Montrez, does that compromise you defensively?
Pat is contributing, is what I'm saying.
Right. I mean, is Trez is a closing 5, maybe?
Yeah.
I'm kind of surprised you guys are wishy-washy because Milwaukee is a team that is outscoring opponents by more than anybody in the history of the league.
I mean, this might be the best regular season team in history. Now it's regular season, but still, that's not chopped liver. I mean, 82 games.
Yeah.
All right, well, that's a short topic because we're going to go long on this next one. Buckle in if you like to get outraged about things because we're about to get really outraged. Team USA released their 44 finalists for the men's basketball team for this coming 2020 Olympics in Tokyo. This list does not include 3 of the brightest young stars in all of basketball. All-star starter Trae Young, Rookie of the Year frontrunners John Morant, and Zion Williamson, number 1 overall pick. Kevin, why did USA Basketball not want Zion, Trae, or John to even try out for the Olympics?
There's apparently a tenure system with Team USA Basketball. I mean, the Zion question's really interesting. I mean, if you're Zion, I mean, are you somebody who's going to want to play a lot of extracurricular basketball over the course of your career? I mean, given the load you're already absorbing, how careful you need to be. I mean, Zion's kind of, to me, a different topic. But apparently, tenure counts for something, I guess. Is that what they're doing?
I mean, it's not that he wants to, but just not having the invite. I mean, this is the future of the league, and you want to get these guys in the system right now. You know they probably won't make the team, but you want to monitor them. You're going to have them in practice. You're going to have them around the other superstars, taking stuff from them guys in practice. I mean, that's valuable for them because moving forward, they're going to need them down the line.
So, Clint, here's a list of some of the guys who made the cut who are under 25. Some of them, Bam Adebayo, Devin Booker, Jaylen Brown, et cetera, et cetera. Do you have a problem with them basically being second class behind
I don't know that I have a problem, but here's my thing. Remember back when the World Cup happened and all these guys weren't trying to play and we were trying to figure out who is USA Basketball serving anyway? Do you want it to be a developmental system for younger guys coming up in the league? Do you want it to be for superstars when you come back for the Olympics? That's what the question they're answering is that. Obviously not, because they're going older.
Right.
If Kevin Love is on your list.
Dwight Howard's on the list.
About here?
I was shocked about that.
It was very weird. And with all due respect to Joe Harris, there's some of these names that I just don't understand.
Mason Plumlee.
And, for me, it's like, look, I would have it be a younger developing system rather than just a place for older players to sort of come back to. This doesn't make a lot of sense.
So that's a funny thing. I'm glad you mentioned that because historically, USA Basketball always has a guy who's like the young guy who's going to be the next. It was Christian Laettner on the first one.
Should have been Shaq.
It should have been Shaq. Absolutely.
That's a whole other discussion, right?
You got Anthony Davis. I remember when he was fresh-faced and bushy-tailed and all that, and he was on that team. LeBron and you could argue Dwayne Wade and Carmelo Anthony 2004. They were rookies and they were part of that. So it's funny that they don't have any rookies or first-year players on that squad.
Absolutely. This is, like I said, this is the future.
Yeah,
we already know
that Zion's going to be playing for
they
USA.
have to be in the system right now, like I said, in practice, soaking up what USA Basketball is all about because we know by the time the next Olympics come around or World Games, they're going to be there. So why not start with those guys now?
It's not a knock on anybody who's already there. It's about trying to figure out what are you doing with this.
No, this is a knock on some of them guys.
Oh, yeah. That's fair. I'm saying.
But I think Clinton has a good point. It's like, we always talk about team identity in the NBA, right? Like what is Team USA's identity? Is it a rising stars roster?
Right.
By the way, Tatum and Mitchell are pretty young. I mean, it's not that the team's devoid of young guys. I get it. But there might be, I mean, I'm actually curious when they're asked about it, what the house explanation is.
We're looking at the young guys on that roster. I would argue that it's not the young guys that we have problems with. It's some of the older guys, like LaMarcus Aldridge,
It's
like
not about
Dwight
that.
Howard.
Yeah.
You know, some of these guys, I don't know if I would have. I might have sacrificed those guys to have some younger guys in there.
Just have them at the tryout. This is
Yeah,
not,
just
it's
the
not,
tri- yeah,
just
not
for
the
the
team.
tryout. It's not like they make the team, but the tryout for sure.
Agreed.
All right, time for our second distant replay of the day. This one is from this date in 2012. Who is it? Who is it?
Shot clock is at 4.
Oh,
Wait, look at that. Oh, my.
Oh, come on.
That's it.